Joining us, MS Now's Alex Tabbitt from Tucson, Arizona. Christopher O'Leary is former director of hostage recovery for the U.S. governor and MS Now national security intelligence analyst. Chip Massey is a former FBI special agent and hostage negotiator. So, Alex, what do we know about what's happening today and where this search might be heading?
Well, we're learning just how seriously the FBI is taking this purported ransom note. And that's because this ransom note, which, as you noted, was sent to TMZ as well as local outlets here in Tucson, contained key details about a floodlight that was damaged at Nancy Guthrie's home, details about an Apple Watch, which Nancy Guthrie was wearing. And Harvey Levin from TMZ, the founder who we just heard from, shed some more light about why these details are taken so seriously. He says he's seen the ransom note. He says that the ransom note contains details about where Nancy Guthrie's Apple Watch was left inside of her home. And that's notable because that's a detail that imposter kidnapper, somebody trying to take advantage of the situation who doesn't actually have custody of Nancy Guthrie, might not be privy to. Now, in the absence of other publicly acknowledged information, local officials, law enforcement officials here, are asking the public for tips. I want you to hear from Fabian Pacheco, the chief of detectives at the Pima County Attorney's Office, about just how many tips they're getting right now.
We are upwards of 200 tips. And just to put it in perspective, on a normal day, we receive maybe 12, 20 tips on several unrelated cases. The past 4 days, this has spiked to 200 tips and more, and counting. So we continue to encourage the public to please continue sending us those tips.
And these tips are so important, Chris, because they act as a force multiplier, keeping eyes and ears in the Tucson area throughout Arizona so people can call in and help the investigators find Nancy Guthrie. Chris.
Thank you for that. So, Chip, I wonder what you make of the statement that the second ransom deadline is much more serious, but other than the note, there's been no direct communication from whoever did this.
Right. What is apparent is that the family desperately wants to get in touch with the kidnappers. And so far, we haven't heard anything from them, at least from what we're hearing through these channels. So it's clear that if the kidnappers were to reach out, to let them know, to give them some proof of life, that obviously helps the family process this and would help move things forward. But you're right, in the absence of information, all we're doing is guessing.
So, Chris, TMZ's Harvey Levin also revealed the note said Nancy is okay and knows what the demands are. What do you make of the alleged kidnappers apparently writing that? I don't know. Is it a kind of psychological warfare against the family? What are they doing by that?
I think they're trying to give the family some comfort that she's still safe. But at the end of the day, and Chip can talk about that, there's no negotiator that's ever going to believe that unless we get an actual proof of life. And, again, has been discussed, the existence of AI makes it a little more challenging. So you want to have a real-time conversation and you want to put some challenges out there that only Mrs. Guthrie would be able to confirm in real time. Pieces of information that are so unique that there's no way that it could be AI generated. So that's what you want next. Listen, the FBI Crisis Negotiation Unit out of Quantico, they're experts in this. They frankly deal with kidnaps for ransom almost on a weekly basis, in Mexico, Central America, South America, Africa, and they're used to negotiating these things. And many of these end up successfully getting the hostage release. So there's real hope here. And yes, we're approaching nearly a week since Mrs. Guthrie's been taken, and she's of advanced years. But I will say that the hostage takers took her, and she's of value to them. They want to exchange this for something of value. And also her advanced years. I worked a case just a few years ago where Al-Qaeda in Northwest Africa, Janum it's called, abducted an 84-year-old nun in Burkina Faso, took her hundreds of miles into Mali, and then held her for months. She was released and she was healthy as can be. It was an arduous experience, but Mrs. Guthrie has the ability to survive this as well.
So, Chip, the sheriff did say yesterday that it's technology that they think is really going to help them solve this case. The FBI special agent in charge actually gave some details of what's being done on that front. Take a listen.
Members from our cellular analysis survey team are here, and they continue to collect and process digital information. We are actively reviewing and analyzing information from all digital sources, which includes banks, social media companies, phone companies, and any other organizations where a digital footprint could have been captured.
Yeah, I think that the easiest thing for folks to understand in terms of a search is, Chip, cell phone towers and traffic cameras. And I wonder if it's easier because one would think that in the middle of the night, if you look at that timeline when it looks as though she was taken away from the home, there would be a lot less traffic than any other time. There you see the timeline there. The software detects a person on camera and the pacemaker disconnects. So all of that happening, around 2 o'clock or thereafter in the morning. Does that narrow down the search or help the search for them?
I think you'd have to say yes, that anytime we're limiting the amount of traffic on the street, that any kind of distractions that can confuse the cameras, anything that can take away from the raw data, obviously is a help. But as is always the case, the public is such a strong bedrock for the FBI to get information. Usually there's somebody out there that knows something, like you were alluding to for both Chris's there, is that somebody can come forward with information and just break this wide open. But again, we want to emphasize that it is up to the kidnappers to reach out to the family members to let them know that she is alive and they are taking care of her, because ultimately they are in control of her safekeeping. And they must honor that for this thing to be successful, for things to return to normal, for this loved woman to be brought back to her family.
Chris, the president has said whatever investigators need, they'll give it to them. How much manpower does something like this generally take? And given that this is not something that happens every day in Arizona in this way, and certainly the high profile of this case, are there a lot of different areas of the federal government that could be of help?
Yeah, so the FBI is purposely built for something like this. Listen, going back to the FBI's origins, the FBI, while a lot of people believe it, was created to work bank robberies against the syndicate, there were actually quite a few kidnappings, and the FBI had the authority to chase people across state lines under the Mann Act. And then fast forward the Lindbergh baby abduction. In the wake of that, a new federal statute was created, giving the FBI broader jurisdictions in kidnapping and hostage taking. So the FBI has the unique capability and experience to do this, the national reach to be able to do it, but also the global reach in the event she was, and I'm not suggesting this is the case, but if she was taken across the border into Mexico because of the proximity to the border, that is something the FBI is still able to work very effectively. And then all of the unique resources that the FBI can bring in, the crisis negotiation unit, behavioral analysis unit, the hostage rescue team, evidence response team, the FBI laboratory, CAST, on and on and on and on. The FBI is uniquely positioned to work this. And despite the dysfunction of the current FBI leadership, the line agents and intelligence analysts are the best professionals in the world, and the Guthrie family is in the best hands to resolve this successfully.
So let me ask you quickly, Chip, because what Chris just said ties into what you said, which is tips from the public. And if they're getting a couple hundred a day, how do people who are expert on this sort of separate what might actually be useful? And we always hear, you may have seen something that may not seem important to you, but in our big picture, it may help us. Can you sort of give us the big picture of how they go through that stuff and what might be helpful?
Right. And as you know, and Chris is exactly right, The FBI is the best of the best to do this. They are uniquely equipped. They deal with crisis every day. So to your point, that when they set up these hotlines, they are given information about what they're to use as a matrix criteria to eliminate some calls and what ones to take more seriously and what ones will be elevated. So they're dealing from that list. And like Chris said, the analysts that are working on this, again, they are the best, most highly trained people that exist to work this kind of matter. And so that information, the way the funnel works, it's purposeful, it's been tested, and we know that when people call in with tips, just like you just said, Chris, please, folks, if you have a tip, please call it in, because there is something there that will help connect all of this to this case overall.